Hi, everybody. Today is a short lesson on properties of metals, and we're looking at metals. When you think of metals, what do you think about? You think of iron, probably. So iron is right here. Do you think of copper or gold, right over here, or calcium? Notice all the ones we pointed at are all on the left side of the periodic table. And when I tell you think of a nonmetal, you think oxygen, or chlorine, or neon. You notice these are all on the right side of the periodic table. And then we have some ones, the green ones that you see here that are right in between, and those will be called metalloids. So they're not quite a metal and they're not a non-metal. So they share a bit of properties from both. Let's take a look at metals to start with. So we look at different properties of metals, specifically the metallic luster. So the term luster or something that's lustrous is shiny, like copper or aluminum. You see aluminum. So when we talk about metallic luster, I'm not talking shiny like a diamond or glass. We're talking metal like gold, silver, copper, or aluminum. So that's what metallic luster means. It is a metallic shine. The next property of metals. Well, think about why do we use metal to for in your kitchen, right? All your pots and pans all need to be able to conduct heat. Well, that's another one that allows heat to flow. Another property of metals is that they conduct electricity. Can you guys think about the best metal that will conduct electricity? Would it be copper or aluminum? Copper. Good job. Um, a metal is also malleable. It can deform without breaking. So think about, say, a spoon. Some spoons, obviously, if it's a very, very thick metal, it's hard to bend. But some spoons, you can easily bend them without breaking. Or a can, aluminum can bend it without breaking. Another interesting property of metals is that they react to acids. In fact, as you can see here, the element, for example, if I take a piece of iron or magnesium, when it comes in contact with an acid, it will produce hydrogen. It will start bubbling up and produce hydrogen gas. And lastly is ductility. And ductility is the ability to stretch into wires. So that's why we're able to make all these amazing wires, like all the circuitry that's in our house, in our buildings, are all made up of wires, metal wires that are behind the walls. But in order to have wires behind the walls or anywhere without getting electrocuted or have an electric fire, they all need to be isolated with a non-metal, which is the next part. So when I think of non-metals are the exact opposite of metals. So we said that metals are shiny. Well, non-metals are not shiny, like in this image right here. So this is sulfur. It kind of looks like chalk. You see, it's dull like that. It's matte. And we have this metal here that's colorful. Sorry, non-metal. Selenium is another one that is not metal. So dull or colorful, these are all characteristics of nonmetals. They don't shine. And opposite to metals, they don't allow heat, which is why we'll use rubber or plastic for isolating a wire. Right? Actually, that's for the electricity. Next one, but in here does not conduct heat. We would use, let's say, wood. Let's say wood to be able to cook your food with. Like if you use a spoon made of wood, you're able to mix without burning your hands because wood does not conduct heat. And now back to the electricity one, do not allow electricity to flow, can be used for insulation. That's an important one. That's where you have rubber wires. They're protecting. Just rubber wires that will insulate your wires. Next, non-metals also break easily, unlike metals, and they don't react to acids. Lastly, you cannot make wires out of non-metals. Think of oxygen. It's a non-metal. I can't make a wire made of oxygen, right? So it's pretty intuitive. Just once you understand metals really well, understand that non-metals are the opposite exactly. And lastly, are properties of metalloids. So it's like that in between that I told you about, the elements that you find on the steps. In some books, they're even called semi-metals because they share some properties of metals, and some of non-metals, like you see here, elements that at least have one property of metals and one of non-metals. So, for example, they're going to be shiny, but they won't conduct electricity very well. Or they will be shiny, but they won't react to acid. So it's a bit of a mixture of the two. So some of them, silicon, you may have heard, boron, arsenic, and germanium. So these are all, they look like metals, but they're very poor conductors of electricity, for example. And they're often used in construction, that sort of thing, where conducting electricity is not required, but we need the strength of a metal and perhaps the color as well for something to do in construction. All right, so let's start our questionnaire for today. We have two substances. Is this a metal or a non-metal, and why? Number two, is this a metal or non-metal, and why? Now, looking at your pots and pans, this pot right here has a wooden handle. However, these ones don't. So, number three is, what property of the wood is shown in this image? Why is this, in your opinion, a better pot than these ones in number four? In number four, what property of metals is shown in this image, in these images? Number five, what is the property of the plastic and rubber in these images? So you see I have here some wires, but they have plastic around them, and these birds are able to stand on these cables. How come? What property allows them to stand on these cables without getting electrocuted? Number six, what is the property of the metal that allows it to be stretched into wires? Notice here what I'm pointing at. That's what I'm talking about. What property of the metal allows it to be stretched into wires? Number seven, name the best metal to conduct electricity. Now let's take a look at these two. Metal or non-metal, and why? You can name two properties here. And number nine, again, not metal or non-metal, and why? You can name two properties. Oh, number 10. Again, the same question, is this a metal or a non-metal, and why? Number 11, metal or non-metal. So here we placed something that looks like a metal. It's be a metal or non-metal or metalloid. And we placed them in test tubes filled with an acid. Which of these is probably not a metal? The liquid inside in these test tubes is an acid. So is it A, B, C, or D? And the one that's not a metal, is that a non-metal or a metalloid? All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. See you soon.